Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. I'm Yomesh Gupta. In this video, we are going to talk about something different because our careers are not just limited to cracking and mastering interviews. It's also about growing in an organization, growing as an engineer when we join a company from a junior engineer to senior to staff and so on. A lot of times when we work in an organization and we see large code bases, we often have responsibilities and tasks where changes span across teams, where we want to make code changes that affects a lot of teams, lot of code in maybe hundreds of files. And sometimes we do it manually, we don't know, and we might get overwhelmed. So it's an important topic. In this video, we are going to talk about it. How can we tackle it? We'll take a live example that there is something we want to change and it might be spanning across a lot of files. Then how can we do it in a robust and scalable manner? What are the tools present? What are the ways to do it? And I want you to take learnings from this video and try to implement in your company. And if you have seen these already, then please share your experience in the comment. So without wasting any time, let's get started. So let's say we have this file where we have a page component and it is importing primary button from our design system slash core slash primary button, and we are using it here, and we are passing the data test ID here, and there is a children which is just a text called click me, and we are exporting this page. Assume that this is one of the components in a very large code base. Let's say in this source directory we have components folder, we have collections, we have features, questions, resources, tutorial videos. Maybe there are n level t, we have so many components, and in a lot of those components we use the primary button. Now our problem statement is that we have been developing this app for a while now, and our team comes up with the second version of the design system, or we are trying to update it, and we want to deprecate this primary button somehow, and eventually we want it to to replace all the occurrence of it in the entire code base. Now it's the occurrence change is not simply just find and replace. It's a bit more nuanced than that, and this is one of the examples. You can relate it to anything you want to do, maybe a large change which you want to make in your app, like deprecating or introducing something which is span across a lot of files. Now this is the let me give you example here. So let's say this is the old file. Now in the new version, what we want to do is that we want to import the button, and we want to destructure it, and we want to do it from design system core, and let's say this is v2 core and the button. So this is our new version, and the usage will change also. That will say button will have the variant which is primary. The copilot is helping us here. The variant is primary, and we want to pass on all the existing attributes that we were currently passing to primary button. Apart from the few, we want to pass it on, and the children and the closing tag will all the children will remain the same, but the closing element will also change from primary button to button. So this is the old one, and this is the new one. Now this primary button and this import and the use invocation of it might be happening, let's say 1000 times, or 100, 200, 500 times in the code base, and we want to replace it in all the files and do it in a scalable and robust manner. So let's see how can we tackle this. I mean, you can always go into search and replace, find this and make the changes, but that is more of a manual task. You might miss something, you might miss some attribute here and there. So we can see that how can we automate this task and what are the tools to do it. Before we go into the actual implementation, let me quickly walk you through to the new changes to the DevTools Tech platform. It is a platform for front-end engineers, and a lot of our users use this platform to grab offers from top companies and get packages like 50 LPA, 60 LPA and more than that. So now if you go to the platform, you will see this prepare section. You have all the question type, languages, you have guides, company guide, front. So company guide is all the questions from companies. You have system design guide, resume, how to improve your resume. You want to quick, you have short time, or maybe you want to focus on specific areas. So you have focus areas, you have company questions and so on. So let's say I go to focus areas, I come to this section in the dashboard. Now I can maybe want to prepare array methods or array polyfills, or maybe let's say something like Lodash or promises. So we have a lot of uh, topics, all the fundamental topics of web and front end covered here. You can go, let's say I pick up array polyfills, I'll reach here, I can click on here and I can start solving. If I, let's say I want to go in Zen mode, I can click on go full screen, I'll have the full screen, I can write the code. Then once I'm done writing code, you can go to the editorial section and see our solution to a lot of questions. But let's say I want to test out my solution, so I'll click on run, and as soon as you click on run, you will see all the test cases that are there. Are a lot of test cases for some questions have 5, some 10, 20, 15, wherever we can cover a lot of cases are mentioned. Maybe you want to see what are the test cases, you can go to the test cases section, and will show you all the test cases that are present for this particular question, is the input, what is the expected output, and so on. And eventually I'm building functionality like where you can input your custom test input and run the code against that. That is one of the upcoming functionalities. Apart from this, you have 200 plus premium questions on the platform. Let's say you want to, and you're solving a question and you want to see the solutions, you can see either see in the editorial, or you can go to your submissions or submissions by other users, and you can compare like how they are solving, how you are solving the question. You can pick cherry pick the best part from their solution. Now coming back to the dashboard, let's say I go back to the dashboard, I want to prepare as per company. So I'll go to this company section. We have questions from 57 plus companies, and I am keep on adding new questions and new companies here. You can prepare from Amazon, Atlassian, Adobe, Apple, Angel One, and so many, Razorpay. So many companies are listed here. You can have resume guide. Let's say you want to, you're not getting calls, so you can read a resume guide and see the tips and tricks we have mentioned here. Plus, like I mentioned, you have the study plans, focus areas, and company questions. Study plans are a bit incomplete, but they are coming soon. You have the system design guide, we are continuously updating it, we are going to add new examples here which soon would be live. And always you have the premium questions here like breadcrumb chain problem, you have API client, function call counter. It's not mentioned here, but these are from different companies. This is from Zepto, this is from I think Atlassian, uh, this straws on the board is from Flipkart, and total comment counts and function call counter, it is also from one of the companies. And so my ask is that go, the link would be mentioned in the description in the comments. Go check out and try to use the platform. If you feel like it, that it's helping you, then go get the subscription. And if you have any feedback, then please do reach out to me, do share your feedback, and I'll improve it and make it better for you. So coming back to a problem statement, let's see how can we update this component, and how can we write a solution to change the imports. Now let me first make you understand how this code translates into an AST, which is abstract syntax tree. So I'll take this, I'll go to this website called astexplorer.net, I'll paste the code here. So now AST is the abstract syntax tree, like I mentioned. It's the meta information about your code, or the structure, about the structure of your code. This is the data structure that the underlying tools like ESLint or Prettier or other tools will uses to update or modify or transform your code. Now if we see here, then inside this we have this program, and we have this body. Inside the body we have three sections. One is import declaration, which is this one, primary button. And apart from this we have the variable declaration, which is the page, and the export default, which is the page, the component we are exporting, the statement particularly that. Now this import declaration, if we go inside this, the type is import declaration. You will see that there is this specifiers and source, and inside the source we have the value design system slash core slash primary button. So now let's say you have imported multiple files here, or multiple components, so you will see multiple import declaration. But the thing to note here is that inside the specifier, we have the import default specifier because we are not destructuring. So this is a default specifier, and this default specifier, the source is mentioned here, value or inside or as raw. So keep in mind, inside the import declaration, we have source, and inside source, we have the value. Now moving on, we have the variable declaration, and the variable is of type or the kind const, which is this page. Inside the declarations, we have variable declarator. If we go inside this, we have the identifier, which is page. We have the arrow function expression and block level statement, which is from line 3 to 10, and the return statement, which is 4 to 9. So our main concern here is the primary button invocation. So we'll go here. Inside we have the JSX element, which is the div. We have an opening element, a closing element, and the children. So now we are more in concern with children. So I'll go to exactly the primary button. So this primary button is a JSX element, and this JSX element, again, there is a opening button, opening element, closing element, and children. So every JSX element will have a opening element, a closing element, or might have a closing element. If it is a self closing, then there won't be any closing element. And the children is click me here. Now inside the opening element, we see that there is this type, which is JSX opening element. It starts from here, ends here. There are attributes. The attribute here is the data test ID that we are passing, and the name.name will give us the primary button. Okay. Similarly, we have the closing element, which is simply a JSX closing element. So like I mentioned, that this AST is basically information about your program. It is about the structure of your program. Now the gist of our problem is that we have to traverse this AST and modify the properties here. Let's say what we want to do is that we saw that inside the import declaration, source.value is design system slash code slash primary button. Now we want to change this value. We want to make it design system slash v1 slash core slash button, and we want to change the specifier from default specifier to a simple import specifier. We want to destructure it. So that is the thing we are trying to solve here, that we are trying to modify the AST, and this, once we modify it, we will translate back into this code that can be used to run inside our browsers. Now, how can we do this? We can, first we need some tool to, get the AST. Are there any, or how are we going to even approach such a problem? How are we going to traverse the file? How are we going to, efficiently read them, modify them, and so on? So now, to help this, there is a tool provided by Facebook, which is called JS Code Shift. Now, you might be wondering, what is this code shift? This JS Code Shift, if you see the description here, is a toolkit for running code mods over multiple JavaScript or TypeScript files. Now the important part is, we understand that it's a toolkit, maybe as it's a library that provides some solutions. It is running over JavaScript and TypeScript files. That also we understand. Now what is a code mod? So let's Google that. So now once we search on Google what is a code mod, the Google says code mods are transformations that run on your code base programmatically. This allows a large number of changes to be programmatically applied without having to manually go through every file. A bunch of jargon. What does that mean for me? So here, in the most layman term, it means that code mod is basically a specialized program that is going to change the state of your code from one version to another version after applying some transformations. Like, let's say we write a simple script that will read our code from primary button default import. It will make it, destructure it. So that's a code mod. We wrote a program, it applied some transformation, and the final output gave us this code. So that is a code mod. So, and this JS Code Shift is basically a library that provides us some tools, some APIs to write better code mods, in a more scalable and efficient way. These are to interact with the underlying AST. So let's go back to our code, and first we need to install. It says npm ieg JS Code Shift. Right now it is already installed. You can do an npm ieg JS Code Shift and install it. Now the second thing we are going to do is that inside our migrations, I have this folder called migrations, and I'll create a new file called migrate buttons.js. So this is basically the code mod which we are going to write, basically a specialized program that is going to traverse our code and going to apply some transformations. So how can we do this? So we are going to say module.exports. Basically we are exporting a function which we are going to call transformer. Okay, and this function, let me zoom in a bit more. So this transformer will get two arguments. One is the file and another one is the API. Now this file is the actual file that is traversed and given to us, and API is basically we are going to use it to make the changes. So let me just change the spaces a bit. Now first we need the JS code chip. This Copilot is giving us a lot of code, so that's the benefit of AI these days, that you have to use it as an assistive technologies. You can use cursor, agent mode or Copilot to get easily and quickly write these code mods, give them a good prompt and get a basic structure and then modify as per your need. Now in our case it is giving us this code mod which is updating material UI, but we don't want that. But this much is helpful to us, that we are first taking out the JS code shift as a variable called j, and we are taking the root. Root is basically we are just invoking this JS code shift function and passing the file's source, and it is giving us the AST. This root is basically the AST. Now we saw in our AST that we want to find all the import declarations. Like if I remove this, we want to find all the import declaration where the source of the import declaration, where the value is this design system core primary button. Let's say there are 10,000 files, and in each file there are 10 imports. So we don't want to find everything in that, we don't want to touch everything, we want specific things. So what we can do is, let's say we'll change it, import uh, import import from primary button to button, just to make it clear. So we'll say root dot find, we are going to find j dot import declaration. We are specifying what are we finding, and we are going to give it some criteria, some conditions. We are going to say where source, see it's helping us here, where we have the source object, inside the source object the value should be design system slash core slash primary button. And once we have this, so this what it's going to do is that let's say it's going to give us, in the most layman term, an array, where each array is this import object, basically this import declaration. We are going to get all the import declarations. Now we want to modify this import declaration or maybe replace it. So how can we do that? We'll do a for each on this, because we are going to loop over it. We'll have the path here. Now inside this path, what we are going to do is that we are going to replace it. So this JS code shift, the method which we got, we are going to invoke it on the path, and we are going to replace it. We have this method called replace with. You can go to this JS code shift documentation, the website here which is mentioned here, and you can read the entire API reference, like what are the methods, like find import declarations. We can also use find import declarations rather than find, I just realized, but that we can update that later. And you have another methods like for each, sum, every, and so on, and some transformation like replace with. Right now we are using the replace with. So what we want to replace, we want to replace the import declaration. So we are going to say j dot import declaration, and what we want is we want to create a new specifier, like from this to we want to create import button, and this button we are going to get the from the path. So what we are going to do here is we are going to say j dot import specifier, because it's a specifier, import specifier, and inside this we are going to create a new identifier called button. So basically this is the destructuring part, import button, and now we are going to pass the import import path. So which is provided here. There's a j.literal, basically the JS code shift dot literal. This is a method which is going to help us to create that string design system slash v2 slash core slash button. So basically from design system v2 slash core. Now let me close this to have more space here. So if I repeat, what I'm doing is that we have the root, which is basically the root of the AST. We are finding all the import declarations where the source value is design system slash core slash primary button. We have it as an array here. Now we are going to iterate over that array and replace the given import declaration with a new import declaration, where we are going to first specify a new specifier, import specifier, basically a new destructured variable called button, and then we are going to provide the path. Okay, and at last we are doing root.toSource, basically converting AST back to the code part, the string code part. Now let me add a script to run this. So I'll go to my package.json. I'll say a new script here, which is going to be, let's say, migrate button. I'm going to run from node modules.bin.js code shift -t is the transform property. Transform this. We will say, I think it's migration, not migrates. Yes. So it will be. Okay, so you have to be mindful of the AI autocomplete, because it will give you generic things. You have to update it as per your requirements, but it can give you a good base. So definitely use this. And we are going to just run over our source directory, and we can say extensions JSX, because right now we want to just for example we want to run over JSX. Okay, and if I run this now, so what I'm going to do is that I'm going to come here, I'm going to do npm run migrate button, or just to make it more clear, I'm just going to make it buttons. Save it, I'll make it buttons, and let me just run this. So it's saying migration. Oh, see, AI issue that it is saying dot where small v migrate but okay, so it's saying button.js. It should be migrate hyphen button.js. And if I run this now, does not exist. Say migrations migrate, but oh, it is buttons.js. I'm making the same mistake again and again. Now if I run this, see, we were processing 7 files, we are spawning 7 workers, and all the 7 files are 7 okay. So now if I go to my index.js, you will see that this button is now changed. That earlier we were importing the primary button from design system version 1. Now we are importing the new button, and it is destructured, and the path is also updated. So the first part of our problem is done, and it is very simple. We can use AI to get it done, and we haven't done a much, but the impact, you can imagine the impact that you can run. Let's say you just want to change the import from default import to a destructured one, named export, and in that case you just write this small piece of code and you run it, and it updates, let's say, 500 files in your code base, and you are done for the day. So we did the code for the changing the import statement. Now let's change the invocation part also, where we are going to change from primary button to button and pass a variant as primary for now, and copy over rest of the attributes and create the children and closing tag. So what I'm going to do here is that again, we can say invocation change here. Now again, inside our root we are going to find. Now what we want to find, if we go to our body again, we have the variable declaration, we have declarations, arrow function. Inside this we have block statement, return statement, and inside this return statement we have this JSX element and opening, closing, and children. We want to find this JSX element, this particular primary button JSX element, where the opening element name dot name is primary button. So basically we want to find this node, and the condition here is that where the JSX opening element name dot name is the primary button. So this is our condition. So let's see how can we do this. So we'll come here, we'll say find, we'll say j dot JSX element, and our condition is opening element. Here in this case, opening element, we, what else we have, opening element name dot name. So name dot name primary button. Okay, now this is our condition. This is going to give us an array of all the JSX elements, these ones, and inside this we have opening element, closing element, and the children, and we want to replace this or modify this. So I'm going to loop over this. I'll again have the path here, or you can call it node also. Inside this I'm going to take out the opening element, closing element, and children. I don't think we need the closing element for now. Now let's create the attribute first, because one of our attributes was pay variant primary. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create variant attribute. I'm going to say j.jsx attribute. This will work fine for us. J.jsx attribute. This is the identifier. The identifier is variant and literal is primary. Basically this is the value and this is the key here, property and value. Okay, now we want to create the new opening element, because here the opening element basically was this part, this particular part, or sorry, let me explore this particular part. Now we want to replace it and create a new opening element. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create new opening element. I'm going to say j dot jsx opening element. We are going to create a new opening element. This element will again create a new identifier button. We have the variant attribute, but we also want to copy over the existing attribute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass variant attribute and spread opening element dot attributes. Simple for now. And the third part is self closing, is our tag self closing. So self closing, if you don't understand what is self closing, it is something like this, or in our case, you know, if you have HR, those kind of, which we, where you don't have the closing element. So in this case what we are going to do is that we have this opening element from the original code, and there is this property called self closing. We will reuse it. So we'll replace this, we'll say opening element dot self closing. Okay, now this is going to give us a new button with variant this, and it will pass the data test ID, whatever is the value here, and it's not self closing. Now we want to create the closing element. So we'll say new closing element, and we'll say jxx dot closing element, and we'll pass the identifier as the button. So basically this is going to create this. Okay, and finally what we want to do is the same thing which we did here. We want to replace the, here we replace the import declaration, here we want to replace the JSX element we found. So what we are going to do is we are going to say j, which is JS code shift. We are going to pass the path, we are going to invoke it, we are going to call replace with, and with a new JSX element. So basically we are replacing this entire JSX element with a new element that we created, and the new element that we created now contains the new opening element, new closing element, and all the children, because we haven't touched the children because we want to pass it as it is. If you want to modify the children in some way, you can, you know, have this children property trait over it and do that. Now once this is done, uh, we can return root.to resource. Now let me do one thing, let me just you know, just revert all the earlier changes that we did, and we come back here. Now I'll go here, I'll just rerun my npm command. So I'll run this. See, it is again running on the 7 files, and if I go to my file now, we'll see that the primary button import is gone. We have the destructured button, and the primary button invocation is also gone. We have now have the button. The variant is getting passed as primary, and you can also have this condition. Let's say some place you want to replace primary button, some place you want to replace the secondary button, so you can have that conditional logic in your code mod. I call it migration, you can call it code mod. That doesn't make a difference. Plus we are passing over all the attributes, the children and the closing tag. Now if I go to replace and if I search for primary button, see we don't have any occurrence of it. It's all gone now because all the are replaced. And if I find this in D structure, then we are finding all the data here. We have 7 files and all the files are importing button now. So if you go back and see that with just 10-15 minutes reading the API, we iterate over, we using and the package JS code shift, we wrote a code mod that iterates over all the files in our code base, specifically JSX files. We find all the imports where the source value is this, we iterate over them and replace it with a new import declaration. Similarly, we iterate over all the nodes and find the JSX element where the opening element is primary button. We take out the opening element and the children, we create a new attribute, we create a new opening button where opening element where the type is button, basically the identifier is button. We pass all the attributes, we mention if it's self closing or not, then we create a new closing element which is of again the button type, and then we replace this JSX element that we found with a new JSX element with all the new data. And at last we just do root.to source, and this gives us all the data on all the modifications. This is again scalable, robust. You can write as many logic or different code mods. You can make all the changes, push it and ask the respective teams to review the files owned by them, or maybe you can run it on the code base you own and then share the script with them, with your sister team or other teams in the company, and they can either modify it and run it on the code base that they own. As simple as that. So this is the end of the video. I hope you were able to learn something new today. As always, if you feel that I missed something could have been done better, then please do mention in the comments, or do reach out to me. The idea here was to give you a quick and brief introduction about code mods and the tools available. We saw a real example that we have version 1 of some component from the design system and now we are updating it. Then how we can use these code mods, how we can write specific programs to update the AST and then eventually update the source code, and do it in a more scalable and robust manner. Having said that, if you like the video, if you like the content, then please do like, share and subscribe. There are a couple of links on the screen, topmate.io/Yomesh Gupta, if you want to reach out to me, book a session with me, practice or anything like that. If you want to if you are having upcoming interviews or just want to practice or upskill, you can go to devtools.tech/practice. I would highly recommend getting the yearly or lifetime subscription. That would be the best value. And if you have any feature requests, if you want to suggest some questions or if you want to suggest some topics, then do reach out to me. So till next time, see you, take care, bye bye.